Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today I'm looking at the companion comic collections for the 2013 to 2014 series of Forever Evil. Let me start out by explaining what that means. So with just about any major comic event, there are going to be plenty of tie-ins to the event and other titles. Much like with Flashpoint though, Forever Evil got a number of companion comics that were created to expand on the main story. There were 3 titles created for this event called Arkham War, A.R.G.U.S, and Rogue's Rebellion. There is also a 4th collection with the Forever Evil title called Light, but it's more of a continuation of stories started in the more paranormal focused titles of the New 52, centered mainly around Justice League Dark. I'm not going to cover it here because it's much less connected and it has way too many story elements to explain what's going on in it to pair it with anything else. So it would just be better to give that one its own video. And unlike the Flashpoint videos, I'm not going to be dividing this into multiple videos. There was also another event built up around Forever Evil because all the main superheroes were supposedly dead at the time, so their comic had to do something else for that month. So a lot of them participated in a Villains Month event, where they did an issue focusing on a villain from that series. I'm not going to cover those, probably ever, at least not as their own thing. But, like the Villains Month comics, all 3 of the collections here got to focus on villains for once instead of heroes. So let's take a look at what trouble the villains got up to in a world without heroes, and take this away. First up is Rogue's Rebellion. The Rogues are the enemies of the Flash, all united by Captain Cold, who's like Flash's off-brand Mr. Freeze. Here, aside from the Captain, they include Mick Rory, aka Heatwave, Axel Walker, aka Flash's off-brand Joker named Trickster, Sam Scudder, aka Mirror Master, Marco Martin, aka Weather Wizard, and Cold's sister Lisa, supervillain named Golden Glider, if you can believe it. Well, except they seem to have dropped the golden part and just gone with Glider for the New 52. Good for them, I guess. In the New 52 timeline, the Rogues underwent some process that merged them with their weapons, giving them superpowers. So Cold can actually freeze things, Heatwave is a living flamethrower, Weather Wizard is basically a lame version of Storm from the X-Men, Glider can project her mental image of herself anywhere she wants, and Mirror Master can enter his in-between mirror world at a whim. At least, theoretically. Unfortunately, something went wrong and Mirror Master got stuck in the mirror world and Lisa is stuck in a permanent coma. Most of the first issue is Cold telling us that the Rogues are the best thieves ever, right before they epically fail to even break into a bank, let alone steal anything from it. They go to a bar and feel sorry for themselves for a while before Lisa decides she's going to pull Mirror Master out of the mirror world. She says it's because Rogues don't abandon each other, and I'm sure the fact that the 2 of them are dating has nothing to do with it. Despite being warned several times that it's impossible, she pulls it off in a single try. Yeah, this is kinda how the whole comic goes. It does, however, cause her projection body to vanish and her corporal body to flatline, so maybe not impossible so much as just a really bad idea. Start and Scudder fight over this, and Cold says he's done with the Rogues forever. So he goes off and tries to break into that same bank by force, fails again, and is rescued by the rest of the gang. And so then he's back with them and they're breaking Trickster out of jail because Rogues don't abandon each other. Yeah, we're like halfway through issue 1 and I'm pretty sick of this comic. So this is when Johnny Quick shows up, as we saw in the main series, and soon the Rogues are at the Syndicate meeting being told the world belongs to them now. Also, they're all shown as being at the meeting in the main series, but Glider isn't with them in this comic for obvious reasons. Oh well. When they get back to Central City, they find it in ruins. Apparently, Gorilla Grodd attacked it while they were gone, but I was pretty sure he was at the meeting too, so when did he have time to completely annihilate a city? They excuse it by saying they were gone for 2 hours, and Grodd apparently only needed 1 to destroy the city. But they can teleport anywhere instantly thanks to Mirror Master, and Grodd can't, so why did Grodd get back to Central City an entire hour before the Rogues? It seems the Syndicate wants the city destroyed, for reasons? But with Lisa still in the hospital, and also I guess with them not wanting innocents to die, the Rogues resist this mandate. Deathstorm and Power Ring show up to find out what's going on. During this scene in the main comic, Deathstorm says that the Syndicate wants the city destroyed as an example to those that resist them. but I'm not sure who is supposed to have supplied any resistance, since apparently the city has been under guerrilla attack since the Syndicate showed up in the first place. Power Ring and all his nervous energy lashes out at the Rogues, and soon the two are fighting. The Rogues, with all their off-brand lameness, are woefully inadequate to face off against these Justice League level villains, which leads to Deathstorm having the chance to rip the Cold Gun mutation out of Stark's DNA entirely. That's probably the best part of this whole series, and it's just a scene from the main comic, where it looked a lot better too. The Rogues flee into Mirror Master's mirror world, but as they do, Power Ring smashes the mirror, causing Scudder to lose control and send everyone teleporting away wildly. They all seem to land pretty close together though, except for Cold, but even he apparently doesn't end up too far away from the rest of them. But despite that whole Rogues never abandon each other nonsense they've been repeatedly spouting, Cold's like, yeah, I'm abandoning you losers to go join this team. This team's cooler anyway. Just look how cool it is. You're so right, Cold. Since the rest of them aren't allowed to be part of Lex's Legion of Death, nope, still not quite there. They end up doing a national greatest hits tour. They start in Metropolis, where they face some D-list villain named the Archer and major Superman villain Parasite. Third stringers that they are, they run away again, and this time end up in Gotham City, where they run afoul of Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface, and an army of Man-Bats. As Gotham has been divided up into territories run by all the former Arkham inmates, and with the Syndicate having put a bounty on their heads, they find themselves in the center of a gang war when Black Mask shows up, and Heatwave decides to nobly sacrifice himself by blowing up so that the others can get away. And the others are cool with that because Rogues never abandon each other. Never. Except when they do, which is always. I understand the confusion, Rogues. Always and never are pretty similar words. Things just escalate more when the Royal Flush Gang shows up, and then Johnny Quick and Atomica make an appearance to finish off the Rogues. I like how Johnny just seems to throw Atomica at the Rogues. That's a true power couple right there. Grid pulls the pair back to the Watchtower so they can meet the ends they get in the main series, and then replaces them with a whole mess of supervillains. That's a lot of supervillains. Pied Piper, former rogue who left the group after he started dating a cop, shows up to help them out, and his music somehow wakes up Glider, who also shows up. So, yay? She then has Mirror Master create a giant mirror, and Weather Wizard use Gale Force Winds to blow all the villains into the mirror so they can be trapped in the mirror universe. So, the rogues just trapped, like, every villain in the DC universe at once? They just became the world's most effective heroes? What the actual F? I think I'll just choose to do as the majority of the DC continuity did and ignore this ever happened. Good deal. Next up is Forever Evil Arkham War. This comic starts on Bane in his home country of Santa Prisca, getting trained up to head to Gotham by beating up and killing some of his own men charged up with Venom, that drug that makes Bane look like Charles Atlas as drawn by Rob Liefeld. One of the men's daughters has come just to see him die. Wow, that's when you know you're a bad dad. She calls Bane a hero and even tries to hold his hand, but Bane's all like, I don't like kids, I'm a dick. You sure are, Bane. You sure are. With the Crime Syndicate having taken over, Batman missing, Nightwing captured, and Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Anyway, with those first three things, the Island City has been split up into territories for the various supervillains, much the way it was during the 90s No Man's Land arc, which dialogue seems to suggest still occurred in this universe, particularly Jim's mention here of earthquakes. His dialogue also establishes as canon the Swamp Thing Earth-to-Earth story, as well as probably a reference to the Batman Contagion or Legacy arcs. They're very similar, so it could be either. Or both. Man, how did I not cover those at the start of quarantine? What's wrong with me? There's several indications as well that the Knightfall plot is also canon. Not that that stops Bane from constantly paying tribute to it by throwing down a bunch of backbreakers. Anyway, Bane lands in Gotham at Blackgate Prison, where a prison riot is underway because he wants the Talons being kept there. These guys are from the Night of the Owls crossover from the New 52 Batman run, and they're basically immortal ninja assassins, but they're frozen because that's the only way to contain them. Bane doesn't thaw them out for some reason, giving the various former Arkham inmates a chance to steal them out from under him, as they banded together against him under the direction of Scarecrow, because Scarecrow is the oldest secret society member, I guess. So he gets authority, I guess. Bane does manage to keep one of the Talons though, William Cobb, who interestingly enough is Dick Grayson's grandpappy. Not that it matters here. Penguin, like usual, is playing both sides of the war and so informed Bane of the attempt to take the Talons, as well as the fact that the reason the Arkham inmates aren't afraid of him is because they're more afraid of the Batman. So Bane decides that the thing to do is to make himself a sweet Batman cosplay. Cool. Together with Cobb, Bane takes down the other Talons, breaking them from the mind control Scarecrow and the Mad Hatter had on them. All the chips down, Scarecrow falls back on Plan B. As in Venom. You get it. He doses all the Arkhamites with Venom and they attack Bane at once, but as we saw at the beginning, Bane eats Venom-powered chumps for breakfast. Probably along with those 5 dozen eggs so he can be roughly the size of a barge. I'm sure he's also especially good at expectorating. So Bane smashes all the various Arkhamites until only he's left standing. I mean, I guess. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what happened in this fight, but Bane says he's the winner at the end, so like, okay. The war over, Bane can finally fulfill his dream of striking a Will Riker pose in this cool jacket and saying that Gotham is his. Cause I'm pretty sure this comic pretty much only exists to pay homage to the shitstorm The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the movie Dark Knight Rises. No, I meant shitstorm. The citizens of Gotham aren't sure of what to make of their new savior, largely because he's an asshole. On the one hand, he'll do his patented backbreaker on these price gougers trying to profit off the common people's suffering, but on the other hand, he hates kids. Like when this kid asks him to get medicine for his sick mother, and he instead just walks into the house and kills her. Man, Bane's a dick. But Bane has only just won his kingdom when he starts to lose it again, because it looks like someone is quickly putting the Talons back on ice. Yeah, looks like Batman's back in town, and he's obviously got a really clever plan for how he's gonna take down Bane, right? Oh, he's just going to fight him head on? Okay. And the fight is going to consist mainly of increasingly silly sound effects, like Shrack, Frack, Splarsh, and Fram? What kind of sound effect is Fram? Hilarious, that's what. And so finally, we come to forever evil Argus. Unlike the other two comics, Argus deals more directly with the events of the Trinity War, which occurred, partially, due to the distrust created by Argus attempting to spy on the original Justice League and creating their own anti-Justice League in the Justice League of America. But Argus, the organization with the unlikely acronym of Advanced Research Group Uniting Superhumans, was founded to do just that. 5 years earlier, the president, who is totally not Barack Obama, asked Colonel Steve Trevor to head the agency because he didn't trust the sudden appearance of the Justice League. Steve's qualifications at the time were, apparently, that he was dating Wonder Woman due to the fortune of fate that sent him crashing down on Paradise Island, introducing Diana to the world of men 1 year before that. At the start of the Trinity War, Argus's Justice League of America had decided to recruit Dr. Light, but that had backfired epically when Superman accidentally killed Dr. Light because of Atomica stabbing his optic nerve with a shard of kryptonite, setting off his heat vision and thus starting the Trinity War. Secret Society agent Plastique then managed to explode Dr. Light's body as it lay in Argus headquarters, destroying the whole building and killing many of the agents. Many of the rest of their agents across the world were then later exposed by someone leaking their files and were quickly killed off. Luckily, Madame Xanadu, who could see the future and thus knew a lot of these events were coming, was able to get Zatanna to send Steve away before he could also be sucked into Firestorm, shouting at him to seek out the truth. Steve wakes up in Argus headquarters to discover the world left in ruins by the Syndicate and its base left in ruins by the Society. A real company man, Steve considers his mission not to be helping his agents or fortifying his base, but simply running off to find the Justice League. Because Wonder Woman. Before he gets anywhere though, he finds they're in a bit of a White House down situation, with Deathstroke attacking the White House with some secret society members in order to kidnap the president. Or is that Olympus Has Fallen? I can never remember. So Steve goes to rescue the president, and to do so takes a page from the Society's book. And by that I mean he apparently strapped explosive devices to his own men. So after Society member Shadow Thief, who has apparently gone full villain by this point after her somewhat crazed anti-hero she was in Hawkman's comic, kills one of his men, he just explodes the dude's corpse. That messed up, yo. Trevor then gets what's called the Argus key from the POTUS, a magical key that unlocks all the most high security areas belonging to Argus, allowing this comic, like Rogue's Rebellion, to be kind of a quick little whirlwind world tour. They start in the Green Room, which is called a magical panic room hidden in a pocket dimension, a safe space for the president to stay. Then Stevie heads to the Wonder Room, his own personal little museum of all his memorabilia from his relationship with Wonder Woman. Yeah, you don't seem like a creepy stalker at all there, Steve-O. He proceeds to literally ask a magic mirror where Wonder Woman is, which unhelpfully tells him inside Firestorm. Nice redraw though. More helpfully, the three fates that live inside the mirror transport Steve to Dr. Martin Stein, creator of the Firestorm protocols, who's hiding in his nice little cabin in the woods. Also there is Dr. Caitlin Snow, the new 52 Killer Frost, who is also looking for Firestorm because this version of Frost is a cold vampire who needs to eat the warmth of the living to survive. Firestorm typically provides that warmth for her, warmth enough to sustain her for days. Not that any of this was mentioned when the two actually met in Firestorm's comic. This Killer Frost backstory seems to have been invented here, as far as I can tell. Nor does this story seem to acknowledge the way that comic had about 1 billion different people being Firestorm, and even contradicts it by having Martin Stein tell Queen Frostine that he can't make a new Firestorm because the Matrix that created him the first time is too unique. Unique, my foot. What's particularly odd is that this story does still reference that comic, particularly in the explanation that an unstable Firestorm matrix causes things like the Fury event, which I'm guessing is when they created Fury by accidentally combining 2 Firestorms. Stein then continues to explain that shoving all those people into Firestorm is like trying to put too many coil snakes in a can of snakes. Oh, like putting too much air in a balloon. Only the universe ceases to exist afterward. That's bad. This series then makes another acknowledgement of the Firestorm comic with the rest of Killer Frost's team that randomly attacked Firestorm at the end of his series, showing up to attack them at the cabin. So Trevor and the 2 doctors, that's not a good band name, escape to another secure Argus location called the Circus, where an extra-dimensional being named Sai helps Steve realize that when Madame Xanadu said, "Seek the truth," she meant literally seek the lasso of truth. Which, unfortunately, Wonder Woman's enemy Cheetah currently has, and she's holed up in New York's Central Park with her anthropomorphic animal posse. Now that's a good band name. Frost, weakened and powerless, and Steve with all his lame Steve-ness, get captured by this group that includes Primeape, Lion Mane, who appeared in a Batwing comic, Hellhound, and Moushin. You probably can't see Moushin, but he's there, trust me. Killer Frost sees Moushin and lures him over with a promise of some candy, but then steals his little body heat to power herself up and fight back. Meanwhile, Cheetah's been trying to torture Steve with the power of the lasso of truth, but apparently even that can't beat self-delusion because he starts talking about how much he's getting tired of being defined by his past relationship with Wonder Woman, when there's so much more to him than that. Oh, Steve. There's really not, though. I see he also managed to get his shirt off again. Such a Captain Kirk. Frost defeats Cheetah and her men, but Dr. Light, now a being of pure energy, shows up angry and tries to kill Steve. He appeared earlier at A.R.G.U.S headquarters, and then again to a group calling themselves the Crimson Men, who is apparently the longtime enemy of A.R.G.U.S and an Apocalypse cult. They sent Dr. Light after Steve, but Steve uses the lasso of truth to convince the Doc that he really is dead, and he simply vanishes in a puff of logic. Then the unlikely pair are off, most likely to deliver the lasso to Cyborg so he can give it to Batman like we see in the main comic. But we're not done just yet. The mysterious Mr. Green, who protects the Green Room and watched over A.R.G.U.S agent Candy and the President, turns out to be working for the Crimson Men to destroy A.R.G.U.S. I guess it just wasn't easy being green. And with that, we've finished all 3 collections, so let's get to the breakdown. I don't really have much more to say. These comics aren't great. The art is all pretty strong for the most part, but there's a lot of artist changes and sudden drops in quality that are probably due to DC pushing speed to finish these comics on a tight deadline over good art. The writing is also pretty substandard, which is mostly notable because I've read better comics from every single one of these writers. So I'm guessing there was a severe lack of creative freedom on these projects. So overall, I'm giving these collections a recommendation level of low. While they're not terrible, and there might even be moments you could actually enjoy the stories, overall I really can't say they're all that worth the time or effort. The collected editions get 1 DNA rewrite, 1 magic mirror, and 1 hilarious sound effect. While that is still moving from bad to good, that's really only just barely. Rogue's Rebellion has no extras, though it does include the Villains Month issues from the New 52 Flash. A.R.G.U.S has no extra issues, but does have some bonus sketch work. Arkham War has bonus sketches, a bonus cover, and 2 extra issues, with the Villains Month issue from Batman and the Forever Evil Aftermath Batman vs. Bane issue. So, that's cool, I guess. Thanks everybody for watching. All done with Forever Evil now. Well, for the time being. I probably will get around to covering Forever Evil Blight eventually. For the next few weeks though, I'm going to do some more connected titles, hopefully ones that'll be pretty fun to cover. So make sure to click that subscribe button to be around for those, and I hope to see you then, right here in the Comic Cave.